This is the First and Gold podcast. I believe it's episode 12. I don't know. There's been a lot that's gone down. Is my camera a little bit off focus? We're back. We're good. All
No,
right.
that's just your face.
What a week. Fuck, man. What a week. Unrelated to Notre Dame football. What a week, man. Like, this has been so busy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
busy.
this is that time of the year where things start really kicking off. It'll be this way for about a little over a month.
It is. It is. Yeah. We get Thanksgiving. I hope everybody enjoys time with their family next weekend.
Right.
But before we get into that, man, and before we get to Thanksgiving, and before we get to the season finale against Stanford at 10:30 Pacific time, or excuse me, Eastern time. I'm always gonna mess that up.
Yeah.
We gotta cover this game. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about kind of the general landscape of college football and what Notre Dame fans should be rooting for this weekend. This is look, we're getting down to the end of this thing, and I don't know about you, I get this general sense from the fan base, and I might even be projecting my own feelings. You're kind of sitting here and you're just irritated. I'm generally irritated about the fact that the entire country. It's just an existential dread for me. I mean, it's probably not my fault, or it's probably
It's a fine line.
it's probably not exclusive to Notre Dame football, in all honesty. But we're in a situation right now where the rest of the country just doesn't want to look at the data. They refuse to look at the data as it relates to Notre Dame football and why they are ranked what they're ranked. The committee has not changed their criteria over the last 10 years. Save for a couple of tweaks here or there, the criteria has not changed, and for the it's just rinse and repeat, basically, Connor. It's basically you find yourself in a situation after the rankings drop that whatever team is directly behind Notre Dame has beef with Notre Dame, and so now it's Alabama, and Miami fans have been chirping, and they kind of have the right to after they beat us in week 1, but it's getting old.
Yeah.
So
I think they have less to talk shit about than Bama, because it's like you guys lost twice to unranked teams in the middle of the season. Notre Dame hasn't lost since, September 13th or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know what's so difficult to understand. I mean, first of all, let's just kind of get into this here, because we obviously know we know this, right? Notre Dame and it's the IU game from last year's on the TV.
Good one.
Which kind of goes into the irritation I think that we might all be feeling, is that we're like, let's get to the postseason. Let's just do this thing.
Well, especially us. We've got nothing really happening until the end of the season, so.
There's nothing to gain right now.
Right.
Well, okay.
That's a good point. A lot to lose.
The natural inclination going into these next 2 weeks is that Notre Dame has nothing to gain. There's nothing to be gained from these games. That, in fact, even if you just win in these matchups, that might actually knock you out of the playoffs, right? Like that could
an unconvincing win against Stanford, dude. I'd look at your whole team completely differently.
For all the bitching and moaning about where Notre Dame is ranked right now, I don't think that there's one Notre Dame fan that's going to sit here and look you square in the eye and say, hey, if they beat Stanford by 14 or if they beat Syracuse by 7, we still deserve to be in the thing. That's the thing that's annoyed me, is that I feel like we've all been pretty fair. I've really, trust me, I am as hardcore as any of them. You are as well, Connor, but I've put that at the door when it comes to the committee rankings, because if there's ever a time to be objective, it's when the rest of the country is involved, right? I just think that it lends itself to a lack of credibility when you just decide to be a homer at every given turn. And here's the deal.
Yeah.
As you go into the Syracuse game, we obviously know that this Syracuse team is beat the hell up. It was a different team when it was at the beginning of this season. And I will it's going to be very simple, this breakdown, because there's not much to break down outside of it. I don't mean disrespect. I'm just being honest. Okay. You took care of business.
After Clemson, the wheels fell off.
Well, yeah. I mean, you take care of business against UConn. You obviously roll through Colgate, and then Clemson happens. You win that game, but Steve Angeli gets hurt, and he gets hurt severely. His Achilles snaps. And at that point, that wasn't the only injury that happened, but at that point, you could directly correlate the outcomes of the season right after that. Duke, you lose 38-3. It wasn't even close. I mean, it wasn't even that close.
Yeah.
You lose to SMU by 13, 31-18. You lose to Pittsburgh by 17. You lose to Georgia Tech 41-16. You lose to what I at the time was widely considered one of the worst Power 4 teams in the country, the UNC. You lose to them by 17. You get curb stomped by Miami 38-10, and then that leads you into this matchup against Notre Dame. And so
6 straight losses.
6 straight losses, and they're all by double digits. Whereas Notre Dame, they have, I think, 8 straight wins, and it's all by double digits. The slimmest margin being up against Boston College. So when we're talking about this matchup, that is what we're up against. That and they're wheeling out the third string walk-on quarterback who is a lacrosse player. And we're not talking about Tyler Buckner here. This is like Joe Giraldi. What is his name? It's Joe. And I know this sounds disrespectful, and I promise it's not, because I actually believe that Fran Brown is the guy for the job there at Syracuse. Joe Filardi. Okay. If anybody is thinking for a second that Fran Brown's the problem here, that's just not the case. There are legitimate issues right now.
They've made noise the last few years. They just had a tough break this year.
They have mirrored the image of their coach, man. He is a fighter. Yeah. He is intense. They were on pace to do, maybe even be a dark horse for the ACC, but we take the depth for granted at Notre Dame. Like, Billy Schrauth goes down, you plug in Sullivan Absher, Asher Craig goes down, you plug in Joe Otting. Mm-hmm. Obviously Charles Jagusah goes down at the beginning of the season. You could plug in Gerby Lambert. Now, behind that's kind of an issue, right? But you could test that depth, right? And guess what? Tay Johnson, he's out for this week. He's out this week. So
that's the only real curveball as far as injuries, right?
Maybe, but then you have Luke Talish behind him, and then behind him you have Jalen Stroman, who you started in the first 2 weeks. It's not like you're rolling out tomato cans. So that's the thing. It's just that's the opponent that they're up against. But everything, Connor, is going to boil down to, can Notre Dame take care of business? Can Notre Dame take care of what they need to take care of to secure their place in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the pressing question. Here's why it's important. And then I'm going to let you kind of dive in and take this for a little bit. But first, I do want to start with just talking about why Notre Dame is ranked where they're ranked. You guys have probably all seen the data that has come out. There are some that haven't paid homage to this. This is all Irish Breakdown, John Bryce, Football Scoop. They're the ones that really kind of put this together. We could go way deep as to why Notre Dame is where it is and why they're ahead of Bama and Miami and behind Oklahoma. There is a case for you to put Notre Dame ahead of Oklahoma, but I did initially think that that's what they were going to do. Mm-hmm. But I think that win against Bama carried a little bit more weight than all the rest of the data that's there. Mm-hmm. No matter what computer model you look at, if you want to talk about how, it's left up for, human interpretation, there's going to be mistakes that are made. Listen, if you wanted to do it by computer, Notre Dame would be ranked higher than what they are right now.
Yes, they're throttled actually in the other direction that everybody thinks is happening.
If it was all computer models based on the 4 computer models that are available, FEI, we'd be ranked 6th. If it was FPI, they'd be ranked 5th. If it was SAG, a very anti-Notre Dame model,
traditionally
they'd be ranked 4th, and the MR platform would rank us at right where it is right now, or excuse me, at 8th. So all of the computer models would rank Notre Dame higher right now than what they are ranked currently. Okay, so that's just something.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine the shit show that Oklahoma next to Alabama would have been if Notre Dame was 7? I mean, wait, 8, and they moved up above Oklahoma. Everybody would be flipping out. So,
yes, Yes. And so, you're in a situation like that, and then every other metric that Notre Dame has, from scoring offense, they're ranked 12th. That's ahead of everybody that we're talking about. For total offense, they're ranked 17th. That's ahead of everybody else that we're talking about. Miami is ranked 43rd in that category, and Oklahoma is ranked 82nd. Points per play on offense, they are ranked third. Miami is ranked 24th. Bama is 31st. Points per yard, Notre Dame is ranked 9th. Bama is ranked 27th. Miami's ranked 25th. Oklahoma's ranked 15th. With scoring D, Notre Dame 9th, Bama 12th. Miami's actually 5th. That's a piece of data that gives them the edge.
What was that? Scoring defense?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then total defense, Miami is ranked 3rd, Bama 11th, Notre Dame 12th. Points per play. It starts to lean in kind of Miami's favor, but then you dig even deeper than that, and you're talking about like kind of the metrics that I think that most fans latch on to, which these are absolutely a part of the criteria of the committee.
Of course.
You kind of find yourself in a situation where, that gives maybe Bama a little bit of an edge here. That gives Oklahoma a clear edge because of their strength of schedule, their top 25 wins. However, there's a scenario in which Navy sneaks back into the top 25. There's a scenario in which Pittsburgh sneaks back into the top 25. And there's a scenario where USC's already in the top 25. So, guys, Notre Dame can catch up on the top 25 part, and then also the committee looks at quality wins. Quality wins, how that is measured, is anybody that is past a 500 record, that is a quality win. Notre Dame can actually bolster that case as well. They're at 4. Miami's at 2. Okay, that's how many.
Who else?
Probably NC State.
Oh yeah, they might have been ranked at the time.
Well, it was a better than 500 record, because that's the game that Miami just got done with. Anyways, even the coaches poll, the AP poll, they're all consistent in how they're ranked, guys. Like, you could look at every bit of metric that you want to, and almost all of it is pointing in the direction of Notre Dame being ranked ahead of those two teams. You could cherry pick little metrics here and there to build your case, but that is a flawed case. That is a straw man's argument. You can't do that, okay? That's going to result in you looking very stupid, and that stupidity is being reflected right now on Twitter. It's got to stop. It's got to end, but it won't. So, what Notre Dame has to do, unfortunately, this is just the reality of the situation. There is no just win and you're in. You gotta slaughter these teams. Yeah, you just
convincing. We can't afford to, we can't absorb another Boston College kind of showing. Just can't. I mean, Pitt. Basically, you need to go out and do what you did against Pitt a little louder and not let them get the time expiring touchdown. You know what I mean? I think my prediction was 51-13. So, yeah, 9 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. I need a decent amount of offensive production here. I felt like they conquered convincingly against Pitt, and they only scored, 38 points? Yes. So, yeah, as far as the broader football landscape, we've got really the biggest game for Notre Dame is USC-Oregon this weekend. It's huge. So, we could conceivably – now, everyone will have a shit show about that because they're 6 spots behind us, and if they beat the team 2 spots ahead of us, now what do you do? And it's like I just feel like Notre Dame's not going to get screwed. I just feel like it's only going to get worse. Even if Notre Dame performs, everyone's going to be throwing a shit show as it really gets down to the wire. You know, if this is happening, 3 weeks or 4 weeks out with the conference championship weekend, it's only going to get worse. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if USC pulls that one off, which unfortunately I don't actually think they're going to be able to do, but it would be amazing. I'm still going to watch that game. They have the talent. I just don't think they're as complete as Oregon.
Well, and I think that right now, I think that you could have had beef maybe potentially about Oregon's ranking ahead of Notre Dame, but that ship has kind of sailed. There's a
Mhm.
lot of data that is out there that points them being properly ranked ahead of Notre Dame. You see how easy that was? I mean, it's
It's
not
almost
that
like you have to
hard.
look at the numbers and
It,
then
it,
it'll tell a story.
but that being said, I'm happy you brought that game up because that's what I wanted to talk about next. Is
Yeah.
that USC Oregon game is about as big as it gets for Notre Dame. By the way, there's a horrible slate of college football across the country, but there are
Yeah.
a couple games that you got to look out for, and Oklahoma and Missouri is
That's the
one of
other
them.
one.
That's
Yeah.
the other one. But I want to talk about USC and Oregon real quick because I think that is by far the biggest because
Yeah.
that is
It's
a
dual implications.
dual implications. Yes, that is exactly right. I said it on the Twitter account today, which I've been active, but
Yeah, I saw that.
it's been a lot. But dude,
Good, good, good.
so here's the deal: you end up getting yourself a USC win on that, which I do have a vested stake in. I put $200 on that game.
Just straight money line.
Straight money line because
All
honestly,
right.
now do I think it's going to go down that way? I think anything is possible. I really
Yes,
do.
oh, I agree with that. I just think an Oregon win is more likely, like as an overall unit. But totally, I mean, all this could take is like a start like Notre Dame Pitt, and you're like 2 minutes into the game and up 14-0. Like if USC pulls something off like that, they've got enough talent to run away with the lead.
Well, and I'll just make a comment about both teams and both coaches. Both of the programs that are going to be playing in that game have surprised me in the sense that they've actually been able to grind out these games. There's been some
Yeah.
bad weather games that have been associated with it. There've been I look at Iowa as kind of a measuring stick program, not just within the Big Ten, but across the country. They're a very
Hmm.
physical program that has a lot to offer in that regard. And if you don't bring that same energy, Iowa is going to grind it out on you. Well,
Hmm.
USC and Oregon both found a way to make it happen. Oregon damn near lost that game. USC was down 21-7 for a moment, but they
Yeah.
battled their way back both times in the elements. Oregon was
Hmm.
obviously visiting Iowa, and then Iowa was in USC when it was just a downpour. And I got
Right.
to give credit to Lincoln Riley, and I got to give credit to Dan Lanning in Oregon. Like, their season was on the ropes as well, just as much as ours were. More so for USC, and USC found a way to get themselves into this position. And I find myself hard pressed to say that this USC team is just going to back down from this challenge. I think now Vegas has this as a like plus 300 for USC.
Okay.
Look, we'll see how it goes down. But if you're a believer in Jane Maievi, if you're a believer in Makai Lemon, if you're a believer in Lake McCree, and just kind of what that team is doing right now,
Yeah.
you put a little bit on that game, and that's what I
Yeah.
did. And I just firmly believe that USC has a shot there, and if they win, Notre Dame is going to jump Oregon. And there are people that I have had legitimate arguments with, people that I am close with, and I would take bullets for. I am telling you, you are wrong for you are not even close if you think that Notre Dame is not going to leap Oregon in that scenario. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're way too close. I mean, conceivably, we could have two teams ahead of Notre Dame lose this week.
The other one being Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The other one being Oklahoma, led by Ahmad Hardy, who I would not mind Notre Dame making a push for this offseason. I know it's a little too soon to think about that, but that would be someone that I'd like to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma has pulled an Oklahoma before, and they did it last year. They did it last year against Navy. They kind of got steamrolled by them, and that was crazy, and that bolstered Notre Dame's resume in a major way. So those are games that you almost look at. I don't want to say more importantly or more watchfully than the Notre Dame game, but here's what has to happen. Notre Dame's got to take care of business. I got the game being 63-7. I think Notre Dame's going to completely. This is going to be it's no mercy time. I'm sorry.
I love that. I don't. I already said 51-13. Um, Man, I've been waiting for that game. I thought Boston College was going to be that game. I think that was I predicted somewhere in the 50s. You know, so we're due another one. We had our first one against an unlikely team, a slightly worse and more demoralized Arkansas team than we had anticipated. Playing. But what was that? 63? I can't remember.
No, it's 56-13.
56.
And
Still,
it could have been 70.
well, yeah. I honestly thought we were going to hit 70 at one point. It was like halfway through the third, and we had 56, and then they just kind of let the game. And that's why I always add a touchdown to a bullshit team. Sorry, to a fighting team like Stanford or Syracuse, just because like in the last 3 minutes. I've seen it too many times over the last 3 years where they just kind of like let them score, or they're moving too quick and they have their best drive of the game when Notre Dame's got like second string guys in there and everybody's kind of phoning it in, playing with a cushion. So that's where I think that's going to come from. But I mean, that would give them 2 field goals for the rest of the game. Well, so I think the defense will be fine. I mean, really, their offense is so one-dimensional now without Angeli, much less their second-string quarterback, Ricky Collins. To be completely frank, I don't know exactly why Ricky Collins is out. But in 6 games, Collins put up 1,000 yards, and in 3 games, Angeli put up 1,300. So it just wasn't going to I don't know. They didn't stay on the same trajectory. Now they have a pretty incredibly limited passing game, and their ground game's not terrible, but it's the only thing they have. So that's really what we're going to be facing. Clock's going to be running, or they're going to be throwing picks. So, I mean, I just don't see how they can get.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I'm happy. No, and I'm happy that you brought up the Arkansas game, because as demoralized as that program is right now, I mean, they make more noise after us
now. Yeah, that's smart.
Before, though, too. Like, which one of these things is not like the other? Okay, 35-41 against Ole Miss, 31-32 against Memphis. They lose 34-31 against Tennessee. They lose to Texas A&M, 45-42. They lose to Mississippi State, 38-35. Auburn, 33-24. LSU, 23-22. We beat them 56-13, dude.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they played a lot of teams to a good game, and ours. It was over in like a quarter and a half. I think
it was really a quarter and a half. And that was a time when Notre Dame was on the ropes, and they just completely steamrolled them. And that's the other thing that's very interesting about that. It's like, anybody that's talking about conference play, like, you can never survive in the SEC. It's like, well, first of all, every computer model has Notre Dame beating everybody in the SEC. In fact, every computer model has Notre Dame being favorites for everybody that they face.
Yeah.
Maybe aside from Ohio State, that's it. That is it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on the Spaces or whatever. But I feel like if Notre Dame, I don't know, big picture, I feel like Notre Dame being ranked where they are right now is still feeding us through the end of this schedule. Sorry, this is tangential, but is feeding us through the end of this kind of lazy schedule that we would often trip up on in years past. I was genuinely afraid of the Pitt game, not because we could lose it. We shouldn't have lost that game, but I feel like that chip on the shoulder that Freeman pretty much always needs, at some point, which is why we lose like an NIU or the first 2 games of your season. But I feel like that'll carry them through this, and then we'll have an injection of energy with a few guys that are coming back from injury, ideally, for the postseason. It's really just like the placement we have no control over outside of going and handling business twice. So it's like I don't think they're in a position to overlook games like this. I think the uglier the better. Honestly, we need to we need to make a statement, and we've had individual players do that. We've had one side of the ball do that, whether it was a passing day or rushing day. Like we need to lace it all together and put some serious points on the board because yeah, it's two of the worst teams on our schedule at the worst time for Notre Dame. So, like you said, there's very little to gain here and a lot to lose.
Yep,
Sorry,
and
that was just on top of mind.
No, no, no. I'm happy you brought it up because it's the same thing I've been thinking about all week long, unfortunately. And I think that the big thing here is that I just have a funny, sneaky suspicion that the locker room and inside of that coach's building, they don't feel the same way. They are not as engaged as we have been with other fan bases, as engaged as we have been thinking about an uncertain future, like Marcus Freeman says. I just don't think. I think that locker room is completely locked in on what they have to do to show like we are one of the best teams in the country. We're not just one of the 12 best. We're one of the 4 best, and that's the frustrating part about all of this. I think is that you obviously see in this Notre Dame team, and you saw it from the jump. You saw it from week 1. You knew that this team could be one of the best teams in the country. You knew that. You knew that it had the capability there on that roster. You even knew it with the coaching staff that was in place. All of the things that we talked about leading up to this season, you continuously saw. We have seen that against in an admittedly okay schedule. An okay schedule. In a way where you were able to grasp at those straws in the beginning and say, you just got to continue to not grind out these wins. You got to kick the shit out of your opponents. And they've done that. They have risen to that call. It hasn't always looked exactly how we want. We know that there are issues, and we should get into those. But I just think that that's the difference, is that we're talking about this as if it's some chore that Notre Dame has to play football on Saturday when it's all we've asked for the remainder of the outside of this season. That's all we've asked for, is we've just asked for Notre Dame to be playing football, and we're bitching about it now. I'm like public enemy number 1. I'm tired of this shit. We don't want Syracuse. We don't want Stanford. We want blood. And I know that that's how this football team feels. I know that that's the culture. Our fan base has turned from one that was just happy to be in the dance to one that is pissed off when that product doesn't reach its full potential. That's the difference. If you want to know what the difference is from the Kelly era to the Freeman era and over the last really 2 to 3 years, I would date it back to the loss against Louisville of 2023. The difference has been we're not just happy with wins. We're not just happy with winning is hard. We're not happy with the scoreboard looking good and the film saying another thing.
Right.
We got to see it all come together, and it hasn't fully clicked yet. But guess what? Ohio State didn't fully click during the regular season either. It didn't. It took until the postseason. So that's the thing. That's the frustration. That's the angst, is that I'm sure that the players and the coaches, they might feel the same way, where it's like, damn, I just want to show what we can do on a big stage where we really got this stuff figured out. Which, by the way, I go back and forth on this all the time about Chris Ash. Depending on who you listen to, depending on who your sources are, and depending on how many sources you have, it is a collective. And that's probably how it should have been from the jump. So you just want to see this team. You want to see Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, CJ Carr, Malachi Fields, Eli Raridan. You want to be able to see all that come together in the postseason. And I'm just desperately wanting that to happen. And then meanwhile, we got teams like Miami that we know we're better than, and we lost. And that's the shitty part of losing twice in the beginning of the season, is they always have that metric to go against. And that's fine. That's fair enough. It was always going to be a war of attrition. Well, now here we are. Teams are falling. And if USC beats Oregon, and if Oklahoma beats Mizzou, or if Oklahoma loses to Mizzou, we could exhale just for a moment. And then you got to kick the shit out of Stanford and get back at ESPN for putting you on a 10:30 Eastern slot. That's what's in front of this
That's
team.
fair.
But that's the angst. That's the frustration. And here are the things that need to get fixed. Why don't you start?
As far as what needs to get fixed,
What is standing in the way, the things that are standing in the way of this team winning a national championship right now?
I mean, I would say the defense had such a low bar to begin with that the improvement they've shown like blows us out of the water. Whereas objectively, our expectation was that this defense would be at least as good as last year's defense, and I still don't fundamentally feel like that at the bottom of my heart. They have improved drastically. They've gotten better in the same amount of like time compared to last year than they did. You know, they've really changed significantly, but they had regressed so much at the start of the season that they're really coming back up to snuff with the 2024 team. I do think our offense, though, is noticeably better than last year's and could potentially have enough, difference there to make up for what the defense is lacking, which is, to your point, why I think they can get past like most of the top teams, with the exception of 4 or 5 and Clayton.
Can I ask you what the defense is lacking right now? Like right now.
I mean, I think a star, first off, that just comes to mind. Like you had Watts, you had Morrison, you had Hamilton, you had there was always an anchor. I will say your average level of player talent and success, Notre Dame's been great at recruiting over the last decade, but now their guys didn't always pan out. Which was unfortunate. I feel like more guys have been living up to their billing, at least broadly. But I think the average player is better out there, but we don't have that guy. Moore is close, but he's been on and off the field. People have also, he's suffering because of his talent too, because to a degree, they're not throwing the ball to him. So when they do, he usually makes a play, but he's getting less balls thrown his way. It's a few things, but I would say a big part of it just has to do with belief, because I think the defense is also quite aware of this and that they're not up to snuff. Whereas last year's defense, with or without Morrison, I just was confident. Even against Ohio State, the offense was okay, we just can't get points on the board here. This sucks. Our offense can score with anybody. But last year I was more confident, the defense is going to keep us in this game when we really have no business. We were about to get run off the field, which is ironic because the offense made it somewhat a respectable score towards the end. But yeah, I mean, I think overall it's that belief in swagger, because technically – they aren't up to par yet, and then lack of a true star. I feel like Morrison was nuts. Morrison and Hamilton would show up across the field at random times, and especially Xavier Watts. Whether it's pick sixes and stuff. Moore's done a great job. It's not to take anything away from him, but to me, off the top, not even getting technical, I think those two things are strengths that we have had that this defense doesn't.
Well,
and leadership, first, but not by players, by the staff.
Yeah, well, you could make a case for that for sure. On the defensive coordinator side, there's definitely there's a drop off between him and Al Golden. I would say this. I would respectfully disagree. I would respectfully disagree on your take on the defense, and I would respectfully disagree because of the product that they showed, or really that they've strung together since, you know what I'm going to say, the rain delay at Purdue. I think that now at this point, this defense has shown that they're back, and they might actually have the potential to be better than what last year's defense was. I think that the safety tandem of Adon Schuler, and I understand Tate Johnson is out for the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, but we're talking bigger picture here.
But bigger picture in just the postseason, I think Leonard Moore is a star. I do
think he is too. I just don't feel like he's had the impact that we've been used to from that guy for the last 3 years. for between Morrison and Watts. But like I was saying, it's not entirely his fault. He's so good that he's not getting as many chances to,
I
you
would
know.
I would just say this. I would say KVA is a star in my opinion. I think KVA is a star. I think the Boubacar
Is he a
Traore.
sophomore?
Who's that? Yeah, it's true sophomore.
Yeah. Okay. I think next year he could be a legit, like, to where non-Notre Dame fans think he's a star.
So,
you know what I mean?
I understand a household name, but we haven't had Notre Dame has not had a household name until Jeremiah Love. Like legit, like no one was like, "Oh, Kyle Hamilton's a beast" when he was at Notre Dame. No one was looking at like Jeremiah.
That's
maybe Manti Te'o. Sorry.
No, that was the only thing I was thinking of. But no, he wasn't really a household name. Whereas like people that have no interest in college football might know who Jeremiah Love is. Whereas like Manti Te'o, if you weren't in the mix and deep into college football that year, it probably wasn't a household, just comparatively. I don't know if you could say ever, but I would say the most recent, and to a degree that I haven't experienced as a fan. He's definitely the most popular star I've had in my time.
That was just a different era of college football. Probably it's a product of the parity that's on the field now.
Right.
Here's what I'll say. I understand what you're saying, and I would have agreed with you fully probably 3 weeks ago. I just you just.
But do you really think that this defense can hold Ohio State to less than 35 points? First
of all, I don't know what Ohio State truly is on offense because they've played.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, I guess that's tough.
But it's a fair question to ask, and the answer right now, as it stands today, is yes. Wow. I quite frankly think that Notre Dame's defense would hold up better against Ohio State now than what they did last year, and there's a couple reasons why. I think it actually points to something you had stated earlier, is that the average level of play is elevated now.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that we have to take into account. First of all, I want to address a couple things, okay? Leonard Moore, in my opinion, is an elite player, a star, whatever. You could yes. Whatever. KVA's elite. Boubacar Traore is playing elite. Mm-hmm. Drake Bowen is playing close to elite. Tate Johnson is playing elite right now. Adon Schuler is playing the best football that he's ever played, and you could argue he's playing elite. Guess what?
I would agree with that.
Here's a couple other things. Josh Burnham is playing really, really good football right now. He's fully healthy. Christian Gray is back. Christian Gray's been hurt all season long.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago we started really hearing the grumblings of like, you guys know he's been playing hurt. It's like hurt, really hurt. And I will always be a Christian Gray defender until I can't be anymore. But I'm telling you, it was very obvious against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a dangerous offense, and they look foolish. They were a passing team.
There was not one point that they were a threat to that Notre Dame defense. They were dialed in. This team really rises to those types of challenges. And when I was a little worried. Like, don't get me wrong, but when I saw the defense play the way that they did collectively, I said, this is exactly what I thought we were going to be getting going into the season. This is what we all thought we were getting. Yeah. And it finally came together against what I consider a very quality opponent in Pittsburgh. Anybody that wants to make that argument, go make it. I don't care.
I don't think they were overrated by any means. I think they were properly rated.
They were appropriately rated, yes. So, look, I hear what you're saying on that. I really do. And 3 weeks ago, I probably would have fully stamped that and approved it. I think that it's safe now for us to be optimistic about this defense. I think this defense is title worthy. I really do.
I will say, just to get it out, I think I won't be proven to potentially feel the way that you do until let's say round one, Notre Dame holds Oklahoma to 13 points.
Fair enough.
I would be all right. No, I'm with you. It's just again, we're a victim of circumstance. The transformation came after our two biggest games, and then they have performed well in Pitt and USC specifically. And Navy, I give them credit because it's a unique offense, but at the same time, I don't really care about it. So, but against USC, our offense just put up crazy numbers. It was 38-28, so
34,
24. Yeah, so we weren't in danger of it, but they didn't. They gave up 400 yards passing. So they did. They're good enough to get away with that and still win the game. And the offensive side of the ball is too. But they haven't had a chance to truly shut someone down that isn't commonly shut down. And I feel like the last 4 weeks ish, they've played well. But they haven't been on that stage to be holy shit, they're legit. This is exactly what I was expecting. So you may very well be correct, but I don't think I'll believe it until at an elite team. So round one.
That is fair. That is fair. That is a fair take. I hear you. Because you want to wait until they're actually in a situation where it's
right.
You're up against Mario Cravers, Casey Concepcion, and all them again, right?
Yes, yeah.
I get that.
If you go out and hold A&M convincingly, I'll be like.
But Connor, that's also kind of my argument is that, and I can actually agree with you. I think while having this take, my argument is that there was so much broken with that defense. And it was a
low bar to comparatively, but
there was a very clear adjustment that was made, and a lot of it had to do with personnel. I mean, first of all, Devonta Smith being hurt throughout the beginning part of that season wasn't great, and I think that he's poised to have a really fun postseason if they make it. I think that he's going to have just the best if they make it to the postseason, right? He might be poised to have the best 4-stretch little period in his life. I can't wait to watch what he does. But I mean, you had Jalen Stroman as your starting safety, which we know now was completely wrong, and we saw it pretty much immediately. Yeah, it should have happened. The change should have happened sooner. You had Carson Hobbs at nickel. You had KVA off the field in certain instances that he shouldn't have been. You had Drake Bowen on the field where he shouldn't have been. It was just a weird deal. And you were running a completely different defense that was far away from what your identity was. So, okay, that's settled. Here's some things that I think I need to see because it's not the defense. Don't get me wrong. There's things on the defense that could still be honed in on, but that's not standing in the way of them winning a title. Okay. I think that first of all, you have to find solutions for your short yardage situation, your red zone situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look, and it's going to go into the next point that I'm going to make, and you're probably going to agree with me. We'll see. But that has to get figured out. If you are an offensive line driven program, like you say, you need to be able to pick up 6 inches in the red zone. You need to be able to hand the ball off to Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price, and you need to be able to push the line of scrimmage and go. Enough of this shit. It's gone on too long. I understand why Mike Denbrock is doing it. Enough. It's over. I watched John Gruden. He just released the Fired Coaches Association or Fired Coaches Club, the FCC or whatever. He was on the sidelines for the Pittsburgh Notre Dame game, and he's watching, and he's like, man, you know what? This is actually a perfect way to put it because he said it. And it's not like he's dug in like how we are. He covers everything broadly, right?
Yeah.
And he does it better than most. But he was just like, man, this team is good, man. This is a good fucking team. That's his words, not mine. So don't demonetize us.
Right. That was a literal quote.
That is a literal quote. And he was just like, this is a good team. He goes, you guys are going to win it all, man. You guys are going to win it all. You're a good-looking team. And then during the red zone situation where they roll things out and try to give Eli Raridon a touchdown, he goes, what the fuck? What the? Are you
what the hell are you doing? Yeah.
He literally said, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? And was like, Jeremiah Love back there and that offensive line. Use him.
Every Irish fan has been thinking for 8 games.
And if an onlooker of this program is saying those things, and again, I'm sorry for the language; those are his words, not mine. But if someone who isn't like watching every snap sees that, it really is emblematic of just kind of what this team is right now and what this offense is, I should say. You have got to address that. I'm all for burning the boats and saying there are no field goal scenarios because your field goal kicking operation is a complete and total disaster on an unprecedented level. It's worse than it's ever been.
I'm very afraid we're not going to get a Mitch Jeter kick in the postseason from these guys.
Maybe, so, I don't know. Maybe Noah Burnett, but he's hurt just like Mitch Jeter was hurt. And Eric Schmidt, like, they didn't even try to build confidence in him. They didn't even try, dude. That after he shanked that, I mean, it wasn't even fucking, and everybody knew that didn't have prayer of going in.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no one was like, 48 yards? All right, Schmitty, let's see what you got. I literally was watching there, and I went and took a piss. That's what I've done almost every single field goal kicking opportunity we've had. I've gone and taken a piss because I'm like, I don't even want to watch this. I'm going to throw something and break something.
Dude, maybe you're jinxing us. Maybe you have to stick around for one of these kicks.
I can't, and I won't, and I don't. And I got to be honest with you, those things are what stand in this team's way. That could be
short yardage defense, offense, and kicking game specifically.
Yep, short yardage, red zone, kicking game.
If you asked me what it was about the offense, those would have been the two things, at least that I said. Definitely the two biggest. I can't really even think of another, like, very specific critique. Like, it's more so it would be leaning on the fixes that we've seen recently, like getting Fields and Raritan as your targets and Pauling and Faison to be complementary. That's the balance you need, you know. But yeah, those are glaring. And I will say, in comparison to our disagreement, where what I thought of the defense, I would, even those 4 problems together, both offensive ones, I think are like what would hold us back more than that. Our disagreement about the defensive level. Are they there yet? Because I can see us losing we were winning by a field goal last postseason. We could very well lose by a field goal.
Yep, we could. If that doesn't get fixed, which I have very little faith in the kicking operation, I still have faith in that short yardage thing getting figured out, that red zone thing getting figured out.
Well, it's because because it's possible. That's why you're doing something dumb. You have all the tools and the experience to do what you're supposed to do, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's what's infuriating. The other thing is, I don't know what to do. I've thrown my hands up with the kicking situation. It's like I don't have a suggestion as far as what's going to get you the best production. I don't have a pivot that I think you can make outside of holding open tryouts. We've had success with soccer kickers in the past. I don't know. Someone please save us.
Our scholarship's full, dude. Our roster's full. We can't do it. So
that's brutal.
So Connor, look, I'm not a kicking expert. I don't know if you are. I think we got a little bit too much testosterone for that. But I just look, man. when you boil it down, Marty Biaggi, you
great.
Gotta
I'm happy with special teams in general.
But
the kicking game is dog shit. Has been terrible.
It's horrible. It's like I like Marty Biaggi. I really do.
Yeah.
I think he's a great. But at the end of the day, what you have done over the last 2 years. No, right. It's one of the worst in Notre Dame history. I think 96 was worse than this, but it doesn't matter. The reality is that you're at that under echelon right now of the kicking operation in the country, but we're talking about all-time Notre Dame here, right? It's sad. So bad. You can't rely on this. You can't, even if you're a 37-yard field goal kick. Brother.
We've seen you can't rely on, if we can't rely on going 7 for 7 against Alabama or, the powerhouse that is Indiana. I like that. That'll spell trouble. We've seen it. Was it Boston College where we missed like 5-point afters, or I think that was the Boston College game.
I don't know if it was 5, but
it was at least 3.
Yeah, it was.
Holy shit! It was at least 3. So, for the season, it's pathetic. So, like, we struggled with field goals last year. Now we're struggling worse with field goals, and we're struggling with both point after attempts. What's the alternative? A short yardage situation, which is our second biggest issue. So going for 2 is equally as hard for this offense. And then, the USC game alone that I was at in person, we kicked it out of bounds on the kickoff twice. Like, yeah, to your point, you can't win games, much less championships, with one part of your special teams unit.
It is our fatal flaw. It is our fatal flaw because it puts so much pressure on the offense to score in those situations. Here's the deal. This is how I would handle it moving forward. And I said this dating back to the Boise State game. Just run the ball. Run the ball. If you get stuffed, you get stuffed. Who cares?
And that's gonna happen sometimes.
We've had an entire season though to just run the ball, work on your red zone running operation. And each time we've screwed it up by doing this wildcat rollout bullshit. Stop. Just run the ball. That's over these next 2 weeks. I gotta see that. And the thing is, this team is so talented that it hasn't been its undoing against the subpar competition that they're up against. But guess what? It was their undoing against Miami. It was their undoing against A&M. Granted, the defense was a completely different story. The offense was figuring itself out. It didn't even know what it was at that point.
Right.
Here's the thing. You get those things are true. I want to see continued enhancement. You already mentioned Malachi Fields and Eli Raridon continuing to get involved in the game plan more. When you involve Jordan Faison, I need more routes that he is catching the ball in stride. I love the comebacks. I love the digs.
I want a slant route with Faison, and then catches it 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, goes for 35.
Correct. That's all.
That's what I want to see. Yeah.
If you want to do that, I would say stop doing it with screens all the time. Although it was the right call, that was a phenomenal play by Pittsburgh. We can hate on the call. I agree with the hatred of the call, just given where you're at field position wise. But it was the right read. It was the right call. It was just a really good play by Pittsburgh. We just associate negative things with screens because of what happened in week 1. Look,
that's for sure.
This is just one of those things that just has to continue to get better. Get Jordan Faison more opportunities to go on the run, because look at how great he is when he's at a full stop. Imagine what happens when he's on the run and he's one of your complementary pieces.
Great point. We haven't talked about that a lot, but he has made a whole hell of a lot out of nothing from how he's been catching these balls this year. Not that CJ hasn't been putting him in a chance to succeed, but like you said, the routes are just not complimentary for what he could ultimately do for this offense. But yeah, hit him in stride. It's going to completely flip things on its head.
Well, I didn't even realize that I'm running a little behind here, but I think that does cover it. In all honesty, I think those are the things that are standing in the way. Those are things you could work on over the next 2 weeks. It's just not what's the is that really going to move the needle? No. But those are the things that you got to look for if you're a freaking hardcore. If you are looking to enhance this team, those are things we got to get better. And guess what? If a field goal kick goes in, good. All right, let's build on that. This could be an opportunity to build on some of that. This is an opportunity when you're within 2 yards of the end zone and it's 4th and goal. All right, let's run the ball in. Let's do it. And if you get stuffed, you get stuffed. You back them up all the way to their own 2. So, Connor, my final score prediction, I think we already said them. I'm going to reiterate mine, 63-7.
Love it. 63-7. I'm 51-13. Or I'm sorry, 52. I should have changed that with the Tribune article that's coming out because I was thinking 7 touchdowns in a field goal. I also can't do basic math, so that's a different episode, guys. You guys come back. We'll talk all about my mental shortcomings.
I got plenty of them. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, get in on the action. Join us on Twitter Spaces. We're going to be probably going live during every committee ranking show. I'm going to be traveling during this next committee ranking, but we'll figure it out.
Join us on Spaces.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do a Spaces tomorrow post game. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But with love, First Goal Podcast signing out.